Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am SidAlpha, and we're here to answer the question that killed the cat. Is it worth it? Today, we're going to be taking a look at One Sole Purpose, a science fiction first-person shooter with story elements by Sameer Hirezi. And yet again, we will not be doing this video in our standard format. The reason being, this game managed to enrage me to the point that I had to stop. But before we get into the severe frustrations I had with the game, let me tell you real quick what the game is about. Now, One Sole Purpose is a first-person shooter that sounded like it had a fantastic premise. A story-rich FPS in diverse environments. Sounds like fun, yeah? And entering into the game, I did make note that the graphics are well done here and to a good standard for a game of its price point. However, and I tried really hard here, this was really only one of two positive things I have to say about this game. No, sorry, three. I should also mention that the frame rate remained consistent. Now, in this game, you play as the character Michael, who is a renowned doctor on Mars and apparently also brother to an engineer named Sameer. And not only does that rhyme, I can't help but notice that our developer is named Sameer as well. And Michael also runs into an alien that only he can see that claims that his race is the ones that created mankind. And here's where I can't even take the game seriously anymore. Let's go over to the Steam page for the game so I can show you what I mean for a moment in relation to all this stuff. Now, firstly, I could pick apart nearly this entire features list as being inadequate. However, I do feel that that would be going too much on the offensive. So I'm going to do something that I simply don't do and that most reviewers don't do. I'm going to offer my unsolicited advice over what to do with this game. But before I do that, kindly allow me to rip your beloved piece of work to shreds. So, features. Now, down at the bottom, I know it may sound like a nice selling point in your head, but trust me, gamers typically do not take well to being told by someone what their perceived value of an item should be. I don't even do that in this series. Now, I answer the question, is it worth it, based on my own subjective perspective, and I present my findings and thoughts on the game. But then I leave it up to the viewers to decide whether or not a game is worth it to them. I don't make the decision for them. And along that line of thinking, relatively low price tag for a great action-packed gaming experience is not a feature. This is not a tangible thing within your game. It is your nebulous and highly biased opinion. It doesn't belong there. Leave features for actual features, not sales pitches. But I could spend a while on the Steam page. Now let's go back to the game. First off, the game does look quite nice, and it was showcased well, hence why I was willing to pay actual money to take a look at it instead of one of the games that I've been given review code for. But in my experience with the game, which was less than an hour, I found that the number of issues with this game are legion. Now, the menu is substandard for a game of this type and doesn't offer nearly enough features within that. In addition to that, the whole menu looks like it was tossed together inside of half an hour or so. And then the gameplay, my God, if it could even be called that. You play as a disembodied arm carrying a gun, given no voice, no legs even, or even any real ability to control your character for a disconcerting period of time during the introduction. Which, by the way, I'm sorry, a quote-unquote immersive world with a memorable plot does not handle an introduction in such a way. Throwing you into some form of action and being expected to give a flying fuck when you haven't even been introduced to your own damn character is not what I would call good storytelling. Beginning, middle, end. Proper character introductions, build-up, suspense, reveals, so many other things that we're missing here. And at 1 hour in, I don't even know if there's a main villain in this game or not. And even moving past that, the areas that are apparently to be some form of tutorials do nothing to tell you how to play the fucking game, and for the love of God, put some crosshairs in this thing. This is an FPS, for Christ's sake. You should not have to play bullet by braille in order to combat your opponents. And while we're at it, some form of definition or lead up for the different gun types, their abilities, strengths, and weaknesses would not only be extremely helpful, but in an FPS, basically fucking required. Some of these guns have abilities that appear to create some form of gravitic vortex that sucks enemies together, while another blasts them away. But nothing is explained in this game. Hell, you don't even get any form of ammo counter in the damn game either. Of course, that little tidbit of helpful information pales in regard to the fact that on each one of these levels, you are left with just the ammo you're carrying. No idea how much, no way to reload, and no way to pick up more, and no way of even knowing what weapon does what until you finally figure it out on your own, wasting half your ammo for each weapon in the fucking process. And the dialogue, my God. Now, don't get me wrong, I love voice acting in video games. It adds a richness and a depth to video games that can rarely be matched, unless it's delivered in such a flat and uncaring delivery as it was in this game, in which case it probably could have been better left out. And it goes even further than that. I was caught in multiple areas with nothing to fucking do at all except meander around aimlessly until some form of timer ran out and allowed me to load into the next area, only to be forced to do the same thing all over again. In addition to that, the game crashed on me not once, not twice, not even 3 or 4 times, but 5 times in less than an hour. I can't believe it. This game is dull. It's boring, it's broken, and it just feels like the developer got in way over his head. He's created this beautiful world, this lovely, picturesque environment. There's no denying, but it's flat, it's empty, and it is lifeless. It's a backdrop. You can't immerse yourself in it. You just see it off in the distance, and I'll be damned if I ever give my recommendation to a game that is in this state. Hell no. But I'll tell you what. I'm going to offer some advice. Apologize to the customers who bought this piece of shit and to those interested in buying it, and tell them you're going to pull it down in order to finish the damn thing. Pull the game from sale. Rework your whole damn plotline. You can use your existing elements, that's fine, but you need to add to them. A lot. Introduce us to the character and his brother. Let us, as a player, get to know them. Get to form some kind of connection to them. Give us a lead-in to the government being after the brother. Give us a lead-in to Mr. I Invented Mankind that ends up tagging along with you. Introduce the villain, too, and do it early. Don't leave the role of the villain to be played by some nebulous entity or force for no good reason. This is supposed to be immersive storytelling, right? Introduce the villain and keep having him appear a few times. Give the player a reason to think of him or her or them as a villain. It will create much more emotional and intellectual investment. Take some cues. Go do some research. Watch the story arcs from Dragon Age Origins, Inquisition, and BioWare's Mass Effect series. Now, I'm not holding these up as any kind of gold standard, but one can still recognize that there is a formula at work there, and it's there precisely because it works. And if you are building a game with a plot, with a story, build the game around the story. Don't shoehorn a story into a game. It will never work, and it will come across feeling rushed and cheap. And while you're at it, get some ammo drops, ammo counters, proper tutorials for the individual weapons, and for God's sake, add some fucking crosshairs to your game, and fix your options menu and all the crashing bugs. Do all that, and I have a strong feeling that this could still be not only a good game, but a great game. And I do hope something is done because this game has a ton of potential. Unfortunately, as it stands now, it's nothing more than broken, incomplete mediocrity. But let me know what you guys think. Was I too hard, or did I step out of place by offering my thoughts on how to improve the game? Let me know in the comments. And while you're at it, please do hit those like buttons, and more importantly, the share buttons. If you're new, then hit that subscribe button like you're me pounding my desk in frustration over the current state of this game. And if you want to support my channel, then please do go throw $1 or $2 at my Patreon, and you should see the card for that on the screen now. And if you want to follow me on Twitter or Facebook to keep up with events, special appearances, new videos being released and everything like that, links for those will be in the description down below, as well as my subreddit and everything else. And thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I really do appreciate it. Once again, I am SidAlpha, and I'm going to go play something else.